This is it, the table that sends chills down the spines of German learners worldwide. A puzzle with 32 pieces that keeps falling apart if you just think about it for a second too long. There are countless videos and materials explaining them, but let's be real. If they worked, you wouldn't have clicked on this video. So what's different? Well, this is the last video you'll ever need to master the German articles. So let's settle this once and for all. Tag an alle, my name is Florian, I'm a German native and I've been a teacher for the past 7 years. If I could name one thing that 90% of my students say causes them the most problems when trying to speak German, it would be the articles. So the task of today's video is to eradicate all questions you've ever had about them and clarify everything that just seems to be floating around and is never explained by anybody. In my last 3 videos I've already covered cases, gender and plural in German. And while you don't need to watch them to understand this one, I highly recommend checking them out because they will give you a better understanding of the inner workings of these 3 concepts. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Los geht's! So, what exactly is an article? An article, in English and German at least, is a little word accompanying a noun that marks that noun with certain attributes. If we go to Wikipedia, we can take a look at what those attributes are. Let's start with the similarities. As you can see, both German and English articles can mark a noun as either definite or indefinite. For example, the planet explodes, der Planet explodiert, is different from a planet explodes, ein Planet explodiert. It's the same logic. Just saying Planet explodiert, so planet explodes, would be an error in both languages. Unfortunately, this is where most similarities end, since definiteness is the only attribute the English articles mark. German articles are a bit more powerful. The next attribute German articles mark is the gender of a noun in its singular form. Der is male, die is female, and das is neuter. For example, der Planet, die Galaxie, das Universum. In English just the planet, the galaxy, the universe. Those are the definite ones. The same of course applies to the indefinite articles ein, eine, ein. Ein Planet, eine Galaxie, ein Universum. A planet, a galaxy, a universe. One little side note here, in German there is no difference between the indefinite article and the number 1. So these could also mean one planet, one galaxy, and one universe. Keep that in mind. Moving on, there is another attribute, number, or to use a different word, plural. In English you'd still use the as the definite article for plural nouns, the planet, the planets. In German, however, every plural noun is marked by die, regardless of its gender. So you got der Planet, die Planeten, die Galaxie, die Galaxien, das Universum, die Universen. And now some good news. If you have an indefinite noun and want to make it plural, you don't need to put any article in front of it, exactly like in English. You just need to use the plural form of the noun itself. Ein Planet, Planeten. Eine Galaxie, Galaxien. Ein Universum, Universen. Okay, finally we've come to the attribute that makes learning German articles so difficult, choosing the right case. As mentioned earlier, I've already made a video about cases and you can watch it by clicking on this info card right here. However, today I specifically want to show you how the articles change and I'm going to give you a bunch of examples. Let's start with the accusative, since it's the easiest of all cases to remember. You leave all articles as they are and only change the male ones. Der becomes den, ein becomes einen. And that's it. There is also no indefinite plural article, as you might have guessed. Take a look at this example. Der Hund ist niedlich. The dog is cute. A dog is male in German, and it is in the nominative case since it's the thing being cute here. Ich mag den Hund. I like the dog. Here, dog is in the accusative case because that's what the verb mögen, to like, demands. If we do the same thing to female, neuter or plural nouns, the articles will stay the same. Die Katze ist niedlich. Ich mag die Katze. Das Haus ist schön. Ich sehe das Haus. Die Fragen sind kompliziert. Ich verstehe die Fragen. That also means that word order is paramount here, since the articles cannot be used to express a meaningful distinction between the functions of the nouns. Die Katze fängt die Maus will always be the cat catches the mouse, and die Maus fängt die Katze will always be the mouse catches the cat. Only if you have a male noun in the sentence, you can switch the words around. Alright, now let's talk about the dative. Here we have some bigger changes. Both der and das turn into dem, as well as male ein and neuter ein into einem. Die is changed to der and eine to einer. In the plural, die becomes den, and indefinite nouns in the dative plural get no article again. So we end up with this. Let's start practicing with a few prepositions that demand the dative case, such as mit, with, zu, to or towards, and nach, after. Mit dem Ball, with the ball. Mit einem Ball, with a ball. Zu der Konferenz, to the conference. Zu einer Konferenz, to a conference. Nach dem Treffen, after the meeting. Nach einem Treffen, after a meeting. We can also use verbs that require the dative, for example, helfen, to help. Der Lehrer hilft einem Studenten mit einer Aufgabe. The teacher is helping a student with an exercise. Now take a closer look at this sentence. Here we can see two nouns in the dative. Student is in the dative case because the verb helfen always requires one, and the word Aufgabe due to the preposition mit, as mentioned earlier. The reason for the articles being different is the gender. Student is male, Aufgabe is female. Alright, now something important. When using the dative with plural nouns, you have to add an N at the end of the noun. It doesn't matter whether you use the definite den or the indefinite nothing. For example, das Kind, the child, die Kinder, the children, but mit den Kindern, with the children. Same here, ein Kind, a child, Kinder, children, but mit Kindern, with children. If the plural form of a noun already ends in N, you don't need that extra N. Die Lampe, the lamp, die Lampen, the lamps. Mit den Lampen, with the lamps. No extra N. There's another exception to this rule. If the plural form ends in S, like many non-native words do, such as Autos, babies, hobbies, you don't use the extra N as well. So you get das Auto, the car, die Autos, the cars, mit den Autos, with the cars. By the way, in German, Y does never turn into IE like the English babies or hobbies. We're almost done. Let's look at the last of the four cases, the genitive. Again, both der and das change their form, but this time it's des. Same change is true for male ein and neuter ein, which become eines. The genitive form of die is also der, and eine is also einer, exactly like in the dative. Plural die changes to der as well, and the indefinite article for plural nouns, well, it doesn't exist, like, at all. It's grammatically impossible, but I'll show you in a minute. One last thing, like the extra N in the dative plural, you have to add S or ES at the end of male and neuter singular nouns in the genitive, not for female or plural nouns. Additionally, nouns of the so-called weak declension do not get these endings as well, but I'll explain that thoroughly in a future video. Also keep in mind that the genitive is located after the word it describes, something like the color of the wall, never the wall's color. Let's go through a bunch of examples. The color of the wall is die Farbe der Wand. No added S here because Wand is female. Also notice how we don't use a German counterpart for the preposition of, because that's literally what the genitive does. It replaces the need for that preposition. Two more examples. The future of the country is die Zukunft des Landes, and the size of the chair is die Größe des Stuhls. Land is neuter and Stuhl is male, so both get the additional ending. But now you could ask, wait, when do I actually need to add ES and when just an S? Well, it's a bit chaotic, but let's take a look. First, you have to add ES if the noun ends in any of these consonants. S, double S, SZ, Z, or X. For example, des Hauses, des Fasses, des Fußes, des Platzes, or des Reflexes. Exceptions are nouns ending in ismus, the German counterpart of the English ism, and some scientific words with an X at the end where you don't add anything. Das Ende des Kapitalismus, not des Kapitalismuses. Moving on, you always have to add S when the noun ends in a vowel sound. For example, des Autos, des Handys, des Kaffees, etc. Furthermore, if the noun has any of these endings, N, M, L, R, you simply add S, such as des Lebens, des Problems, des Gürtels, or des Wassers. And number 3 might be quite surprising for some learners, you can actually do both endings for almost all other nouns. Des Bergs or des Berges, des Walds or des Waldes, des Tischs or des Tisches, des Schiffs or des Schiffes. Keep in mind though that ES will always sound more formal and correct, and most Germans, if they use the genitive at all, will swallow the E in spoken language anyway. Wait, if they use the genitive at all? Well, you heard me right. In conversational German, the dative has taken over the genitive long ago. Instead, we use the preposition von, which means from, with the dative case. Instead of des Autos, you can say von dem Auto or vom Auto. And instead of des Geschäfts, say von dem Geschäft or vom Geschäft. And yeah, that's how we actually talk most of the time. Finally, let me get back to what I said a while ago where I mentioned that the genitive plural for indefinite nouns does not exist. Here's an example why. Let's say we want to translate the very general phrase children of parents to German. Since the German genitive doesn't need a preposition like of, the result would simply be Kinder, Eltern, which is plain nonsense. That's just two nouns in a row. So to circumnavigate that problem, we use von plus dative again, but this time it's not only for the spoken language. Kinder von Eltern. Or take the eyes of eagles, instead of die Augen Adler, we say die Augen von Adlern. This also happens to uncountable nouns if you want to generalize them. The taste of coffee is der Geschmack von Kaffee, here in the singular. You can say der Geschmack des Kaffees, but that would refer to a specific coffee, an ordered one for example, exactly like in English. The taste of the coffee. Now, this is not a very frequently occurring form, but if you like documentaries, you will hear this a lot.
Ein Heer von Dungkäfern räumt ihre Hinterlassenschaften weg. Eine Reihe von Käferarten ist auf ein Leben in solchen Höhlen spezialisiert. Reste von militärischen Bauten dienen als Brutplatz und Schattenspender. Nicht nur bei der Verbreitung von Blütenpflanzen.
Alright, this was a lot of information, but I think you're ready for the last part now. It is as important to know when to use articles as it is to know when to leave them out. Let's take a look. Number 1. Names. Ich heiße Florian. Das ist Max. Sie kennen Lisa nicht. Normally, you wouldn't use articles with names. There are some circumstances, though, where adding an article in front of a name can make the relationship to that person seem more close, familiar, or informal. Wo ist Tom just means where is Tom. But wo ist der Tom could mean something like where's this guy Tom. It will take some listening and practicing to get those right. Number 2. Most countries, nationalities, and languages. For example, ist Franzose, spricht Französisch und lebt in Frankreich. He's a Frenchman, he speaks French, and he lives in France. And while most countries behave that way, there are a couple of exceptions that actually have articles. However, that would be way too much for today, so I'm going to make a separate video about that topic in the future. Number 3. Professions. In Standard High German, we don't use articles with professions. Ich bin Lehrer, arbeitet als Architekt, sie will Ärztin werden. You could add the indefinite article in spoken German though. Ich bin ein Berliner is fine.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Number 4. Uncountable nouns. Hear me out on this one because it definitely is the biggest category. You can only use the definite article or no article at all with any uncountable noun. Like in English, it is either der Strom, the electricity, or just Strom, electricity. Ein Strom, an electricity, is not a thing. Number 5. Most materials, fluids, and gases. This one is pretty similar to English. A few examples are: Wir brauchen Holz für den Kamin. We need wood for the fireplace. Trägt ein T-Shirt aus Baumwolle. He's wearing a shirt made of cotton. Sie investieren nicht in Öl. They don't invest in oil. Es riecht nach Chlor. It smells of chlorine. Number 6. Words with no plural. Some words do not have a plural form, and you wouldn't use the indefinite article with any of them. This category contains words such as das Gemüse, vegetables, das Obst, fruits, die Mathematik, math, das Geschirr, dishes, der Müll, trash or garbage, or der Schnee, snow. Number 7. Nouns after measure words. Basically any noun that follows a measurement like cups, kilogram, or scoops. For example, eine Tasse Tee, 1 cup of tea. 2 Stücke Zucker, 2 pieces of sugar. 4 Kilogramm Mehl, 4 kilograms of flour. Or 8.81 pounds in freedom units. 5 Scheiben Brot, 5 slices of bread. Or 10 Blätter Papier, 10 sheets of paper. Last but not least, there are just some combinations without the use of any articles and it's completely arbitrary. English is actually quite the mess here. In school, at risk, on stage, by foot, at play, on time, in cash, for sale, you get the point. German also has these, but not as many. We would never say ist in Schule, he's in school. Rather, ist in der Schule, he is in the school. Some other German examples include, but are not limited to, zu Fuß, by foot, zu Hause, home or at home, nach Hause, home, like the direction, vor Ort, on site, in Not, in distress, auf Lager, in store or in stock, or aus Neugier, out of curiosity. There are many more and I could theoretically make a separate lesson out of these, so if you're interested, let me know down in the comment section. And with that, we have finally arrived at the end of this lesson. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you found this video helpful and feel more confident about articles now. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop a comment below. By the way, if you're serious about learning German and want a personalized approach, I also offer 30-minute trial lessons where we can focus on your learning style and set up an individualized plan. If you're interested, just contact me under the email address in the description and we can get started. Finally, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new lesson. Until then, haut rein!